There are a lot of exotic armor pieces in Destiny 2 that feel lackluster because there are better options, and the same is true for many of the game's weapon types, but that doesn't mean you can't find value in them. A few days ago, a commenter suggested that my endgame challenge is figuring out how to make the Peacekeepers exotic Titan boots useful. Little did he know, I love this exotic. Today, we're going to talk about building a loadout around the Peacekeepers and showcasing why submachine guns aren't nearly as bad as you think. Let's get started. The Peacekeeper's exotic perk is called Mecha Holster. Stowed submachine guns are automatically reloaded. Submachine guns also have greatly improved handling and ready speed, and your movement speed is increased while wielding one. Because the Peacekeeper's buffs are weapon specific, there aren't a lot of options for your build and playstyle, but the choices you make are important. The simplest way to benefit from this exotic is by using 2 submachine guns and continually switching between them so you never have to reload. This setup is limiting, but with the right subclass selection, you'll be able to stay alive while staying in optimal range for your guns. The Striker Titan's Code of the Juggernaut or Sentinel's Code of the Protector are the best subclasses for this setup because they each have perks that trigger health regeneration on melee kills, and with 2 submachine guns you'll always be fighting in melee range. The next setup, and the one we'll be seeing more of today, utilizes a submachine gun and a special weapon with auto-loading holster. The SMG is the Trackless Waste. This adaptive frame SMG has good range for its class and can roll with great quality of life perks. Mine has a Stability Masterwork, Ricochet rounds to increase range and stability, and High Impact Reserves, which increases the gun's damage as the magazine gets lower. I've equipped it with a backup magazine mod so we can milk a few more shots out of High Impact Reserves. Our special weapon is the Vanguard Pinnacle weapon, the Loaded Question. It doesn't get extremely high marks from most people, but I think that's because most people don't optimize it well. This gun's unique trait is called Reservoir Burst. Firing a shot while the magazine is full increases its damage, and targets killed by a Reservoir Burst explode. It also has auto-loading holster, which means after every shot you put it away, let it reload itself, then pull it back out when you need a massive burst of damage or ad clearing. So, the way our build is going to work with the Peacekeepers is, we spray down a target with our submachine gun, the Trackless Waste, switch to the Loaded Question, shoot our Reservoir, then switch back to our SMG to start the loop again. Last thing before we go test the build, for our armor perks we have Fusion Rifle Reserves on our helmet and class item, and Special Ammo Finder on our gloves. With this setup, we should never run out of Loaded Question ammo unless we're wasting it. For mods, I have 4 recovery mods and 1 mobility mod. My stats are 4 mobility, 4 resilience, and 10 recovery. With this setup, I'm not relying on our subclass's melee ability or grenades, so I'm focusing all my efforts on stats that will make our gunplay even and more consistent. Now let's get out on the field and see how this works. And here we go, we are entering into the Pyramidian Nightfall strike for our testing this time. This one's going to be interesting because there is a nice variety of engagement ranges. We've got close-ups, we've got mid-range, and we've got long-range, but our loadout is mostly suited for close to mid-range combat, so we're going to have to really push in and get aggressive against our enemies. So taking the time to just look around a little bit. We've got a hobgoblin sniper up there. We've got another goblin down on the ground. Let's go get him. Ooh, this guy was trying to hide from me. I don't appreciate that. Okay. So, we're starting off the gameplay loop right away by switching back and forth between our weapons. We don't need to use the fusion rifle on this red bar, so I'll just punch him in the face a couple times and then we'll be fine. So now we go in, we Trackless Waste on this goblin, kill them, switch over to the Loaded Question, and blow up the other guy. So that is going to be the flow pattern for this entire strike, is just back and forth between the 2 of our weapons, and we will use our abilities as we need to. Really, for emergencies, that's when I'm looking to use abilities. So we shred that guy, switch over, get another target down. So I like it. I do enjoy this playstyle a lot. It's very gun oriented. It feels very visceral, exciting, because it forces you to get in the thick of the action. You know, normally if you're playing with a pulse rifle or a scout rifle, auto rifle, if you've even got a sniper in your loadout, you can sit in the back and you can chill and you don't have to worry so much about enemies. And then even with an ability focused build, you can be a little bit more relaxed if you're throwing grenades every 5 seconds, but we have to think very carefully and make sure our aim is on point with everything, or else we're gonna die. So, as this next wave of enemies comes in, I'm gonna start off with the fusion rifle blast. Take that guy out very quickly. The explosion gonna do some nice damage to the second enemy. Ooh, we're taking a little bit too much damage here, so we're going to back off and let that 10 recovery do its work. Ooh. I think there's a couple of big targets in the way, so why don't we do a little bit of ad clear and then switch over to our machine gun to eliminate the big guys. I try not to use my machine gun too much because it has a lot of ammo and it can trivialize the content, and then you don't really get to see the build in action if I'm just shredding everything with my power weapon. But in that situation, I think it was okay. So far though, we're doing all right. It's certainly not as flashy as some of the other builds that we've seen, but it gets the job done. And just the way the submachine gun is ripping through single targets, I like it a lot. And I think that's something that people miss about submachine guns in Destiny, is that yes, their range is limited. Yes, they shake around a little bit. They can be difficult to use, but within their effective range, they dominate enemies. And that's why they're so awesome. As we move into this next room, we're going to have our super available, so we can use that to clear out as much as we possibly can. I want to deal with those harpies first because they're a bit difficult to reach with a melee super, and those goblins are lighting me up, so I'm going to back off, let my health come back, and then we're going to jump on them. So this version of the Striker Titans super can extend itself indefinitely as long as you are getting kills. So we should be able to clear a lot of stuff with it. If I can just keep it going, if I don't mess up and miss a jump and miss a kill. Oof, I think... Okay, I messed it up. But we did get a lot of work done. We're just going to retreat for a moment here to regroup ourselves and get the loop started again. So there is a Minotaur coming towards us. He's probably going to punch me in the face at some point if I'm not careful. Where is he? Yeah, we're getting lit up right now. This is a little bit scary. Oh gosh. Here he is. Whew. Please don't die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Leave me alone. Whew. Okay. I think we've cleared out the major threat of those two Minotaurs, and we're okay now. One of the biggest downsides too, in a build that's heavily focused on guns instead of abilities, that there are times when you're going to feel a little bit naked, when you're going to feel extra vulnerable to. Ooh, I've made some mistakes here. I fucked up. All right. I messed up a little bit there. I've completely forgot to reload my machine gun, and I should have activated a rally barricade to reload it instead of trying to run, because there's not a lot of cover in this area. But it's okay. We made it through the scenario, and we're back where we left off before. So let's continue ripping and tearing. So what I was going to say is, when you're using a build that is focused more on guns than abilities, there are going to be moments when you feel a little bit weak. Right, if you get caught out having to reload, you can't fall back on a grenade sometimes. And sometimes, for me at least, my brain just goes completely into panic mode, and I'll just forget even the most basic things. So if I'm stuck in a situation where I need to reload and I have a rally barricade, I'll just try to run instead of activating the rally barricade. And that's what happened in that last situation. Got caught out a little bit, but it's okay. Only one death. Hopefully I don't die anymore. Because we've got a couple of really big encounters coming up with a lot of enemies, a lot of damage going out, and because of our build, we're going to have to get really up close and personal with the enemies. Oh, nice. So again, this is a build more so focused on getting the most out of the loaded question than the submachine gun almost, because we are doing so much work with this thing. And the fact that our primary weapon, the submachine gun, is always ready for us after we fire the reservoir burst, it makes the flow feel really amazing. Alright, so we just got some hydras to spawn. And they're going to be a little bit difficult to deal with, and we've got to be careful because we're a bit low on machine gun ammo. So as soon as his shield finishes rotating, We'll blast him. Ooh, let's not die. We'll make use of that 10 recovery. It's already coming back to us. Now, before I push in, I want to deal with that Hydra, because the Code of the Juggernaut super is not very strong for dealing with major enemies. So I definitely want to take out the Hydra with my machine guns. And we've also got a Minotaur. There's just so much damage coming out right now, making this a little bit difficult. Let's do the barricade this time. You get out of here, and you also get out of here. I'm not running this time. I'm going in. I ain't scared of these guys. Alright, here we go, folks. We're about to move into the most difficult part of this Nightfall, especially because of our build. Very close range. There's so much damage going out, and a lot of the enemies are long range. We did pick up a heavy ammo brick, so we've got a little bit more machine gun ammo that we can use, but we've still got to use it very sparingly. I want to deal with that Minotaur first, and you know what? Let's go in and slam, see just how far we can get, see if we can get a nice amount of ad clearing to thin out the herd a little bit. Oh, that's not gonna hit. Yes, it did hit. Okay. Okay, we've got to run. We've got to run back. We pushed out pretty far. Now we can go back to the entrance and be a little bit safer. We got some nice ad clearing. I wanted to get a little bit more, but my positioning was a bit off, so I wasn't able to, but that's okay. Now, the first thing we're going to deal with are those Cyclopses in the back, because they have the potential to one-shot us, and that's not something we want to happen. Alright, so we dealt with the top. Now we're going to go down and deal with the bottom. We have to hack 4 objectives across the room, and right here I'm going to use my punch to reload my submachine gun and get some health back. A lot of stuff going on, so much damage going out. But we made it. Being aggressive, it pays with this build, because you get to heal yourself because of your aggression. Ooh, that's a lot of damage. Okay, as we're walking into the Lost Sector, the last thing I'll say about this build, and for every build that I try to make, is I ask myself 2 questions. Is it fun, and is it effective? And for this setup with the Peacekeepers, both of the answers are yes. I find that I'm able to do every bit of content in the game that I would like to do with this setup, and I have a blast while doing it. Just exploding enemies with the loaded question is great, and submachine guns have always been my favorite weapon type across so many different games, whether it's Call of Duty, whether it's Titanfall. I love the idea of having a submachine gun. It's compact, it's quick, it's light, but it whoops some ass if you get in the effective range for the weapon. And the Peacekeepers allow you to take this weapon and push it to the extremes. It forces you to get up close and personal with your enemies, and it's very exciting. It's very different from the more reserved way that you play the game traditionally with a hand cannon or a scout rifle or a pulse rifle, and that's why I enjoy it so much. And there we go. That's going to be the build for today. It may not be as strong as some of the other things that we've seen, but it definitely put in work, and it is a very fun and effective alternative to the more traditional Titan builds. Before we close out completely, I want to give a shout out to my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Making YouTube videos is my favorite thing to do in the world, and getting extra support is amazing. It feels so good. But make no mistake, anybody that's just watching the videos, liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment, I appreciate you just the same. However, if you'd like to provide more support than you already do, then head over to patreon.com/iBluairJgR and become a patron. With all of that said, the name of the game is Destiny 2, the name of the channel is iBluairJgR. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.